It is 100.5 WOWFM, Dave's Video Graveyard. A massive pleasure to be with you. And starting things off with a big apology. Didn't make it in last week. However, we were saving all the goodness for this week because it is, once again, a guest choice special. And we are joined by someone that doesn't just sit and watch the films. In fact, he makes some himself. We are joined by Andrew Shanks of Fury Fingers Films. Almost got there.
At least you didn't say furry fingers. That's what most people usually say.
I did hear a rumour, or perhaps I started it, that you originally were called Furry Fingers, but there was an adult film about people dressed as foxes that actually took the name off of you guys.
Yeah, I mean, that's been going on for a while. We should have been more aware of that was the case, but, you know.
Hey,
it is what it is.
You can't go against the bronies or the furries.
Yeah, I mean, like, you don't want to anger them. That's any of those sort of subcultures, man. Online, they'll destroy you.
That's it, and we're not here to subculture shame. So
no, of course not.
Thank you so much for joining us.
No worries, man.
You're a bit of a jack of all trades. You are a director, creator, writer, editor. You do a little bit of everything. How did you get started when it comes to making films?
Oh, it's, well, I mean, I guess it really just starts in high school. I was always sort of a creative guy, but just sort of always dabbled with drawing and that sort of thing, a little bit of painting, but I was always a creative guy. Drawing was the main thing growing up. And then when I got to high school, in my last year of high school, year 12, my birthday's in January, so just before the year starts, I got a video camera from my parents for Christmas. And I guess I asked for it. I don't really remember, but I don't remember being like it being this hunger or this desire to get a video camera. But for whatever reason, I ended up with a video camera, and I ended up taking that video camera to pretty much to school every day that year.
Yeah.
In year 12. So by the end of the year, I had this like awesome collection of footage for the year. So I made this little documentary for, you know, our graduation year, and then that sort of is where it started. So we're getting to the end of year 12, doing all of that and sort of realizing I've got to sort of apply for uni and TAFE now. So I put a few, you know, you do that preference thing.
Yes.
At the end of year 12.
Where they tell you to decide the rest of your life.
Yeah. And I was still very vague at that point. I didn't really know what I was doing, but I knew I wanted to do something creative. But my first few choices were actually like graphic design and stuff like that. And film was somewhere like video production course at TAFE in Arts, AC Arts in the city.
Yep.
Was like fourth on the list. Anyway, I didn't do very well in year 12, so I didn't get into any of those uni courses, and I ended up just getting into the TAFE course. And it's actually the best thing I ever did, because that year, so I ended up getting into that course, did that straight out of high school. It was a 1-year certificate at AC Arts. And that sort of, that year, even at the beginning of that year, I had no idea that this was going to be my future. But over that year, studying video and film production, sort of just really fell in love with it. And I'd always loved movies, but I really fell in love with the production of it and the making of them. So after that year, I continued studying at UniSA, doing more film and still dabbling with other creative fields. I sort of still had that little itch. So I did multimedia at uni, dabbled with like web design and animation, and that was good because it made me realize that stuff was not for me at all. And I sort of just decided to stick to film, and it's kind of just, I haven't looked back. And
now you shot straight towards the head job. That was a bad choice of words, but you wanted to be the director.
I didn't for the longest time. Yeah. For the longest time, I guess I did, but it wasn't what I always like. I kind of wanted to be for the longest time, and I think a lot of young filmmakers do this. I kind of wanted to be Robert Rodriguez for the longest time. I wanted to do everything. Yeah. I wanted to be like, you know, rebel without a crew. I just wanted to do it all myself. So in those early days, like during uni and then sort of coming out of uni, I would just sort of try to do everything myself. But then eventually I started to meet, just other like-minded people that I really clicked with in terms creatively and, you know, just as friends. And they were also in the film industry and sort of a cameraman and some editors. And I sort of realized that, you know, there was strength in numbers and there was people out there who were much better than me. So if I teamed up with these people, you know, the work could be a lot better. Hey. And the work could get bigger.
Coattails help you grow coattails.
That's part of it. I mean, part of directing is, like 90% of it is, just selecting the right people around you. And, with like casting, they always say that like half of directing is just casting the film well. And, if you've got the right actors, it's half of it's done. So,
yeah. Awesome. So you mentioned AC Arts in there.
Yeah.
And I've
great
got
place. Love that place.
Such a soft spot for that place because back in the MySpace days, band I was in.
I was there.
We were all there.
Yeah.
I was actually going to say, you were talking about in the end of high school taking it and filming films.
Yeah.
Well, filming what was going on.
Yeah.
If it was anything like my high school, we had all been corrupted by MTV's Jackass at that point. So anytime there was a video camera, we were jumping into bushes. So there was no quality. It was just...
Yeah. Well, like, I guess there was two things I was filming. I was filming the everyday going-ons at school. And then there were a lot of Jackass... And the
ladies...
Yeah, within reason. But yeah, the ones that would
Don't
talk...
be sexist
the ones that would actually talk to me.
Yeah.
But, yeah, no, there was a lot of Jackass stuff going on. And maybe also some stuff that I shouldn't really talk about going on.
No, this
but,
is... But yeah, as I was saying with the AC Arts, back in the MySpace days, a band I was in wanted to shoot a music video.
Yeah.
So we'd kind of lined up all these ducks in a row, and we'd really managed to get some things that were beyond our... basically, our production design was way better than we deserved because we're managing to get... a friend that owned the Mad Max Museum, so we got to use all the cars from that.
Yeah, yeah.
And things started to line up, but AC Arts fell in the most beautiful way because the director at the time, well, I directed, and the cinematographer at the time, he was an AC Arts student, and so at that time you're allowed to borrow like one piece of equipment or something along those lines.
Yeah, like, I don't really remember.
You put your name on a list and you could borrow one thing. And we went there on the Friday afternoon to pick up one light that we're allowed to borrow.
Yeah, sure.
And what it involves is the head teacher filling out like a blank check, if you will, of what you can have. And he like ticks, one light, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
He was really busy that Friday, so he handed it to us unmarked and said, just take that down to security. So on the walk to security, we ticked everything. And we ended up with basically... We were trying to avoid J.J. Abrams' lens flares. That's how many lights and things that we ended up taking.
Yeah.
So, massive shout out to AC Arts because they're doing more for arts than they'll ever really know.
Yeah. No, it's really a great school, man. I've just continued... To this day, I still work with and meet and collaborate with so many actors and, just various people who have come through there. It's a really important place, I think, to the Adelaide film, and not just film, but just the Adelaide arts community. I think it's super important.
Yeah, definitely. Is that where, because earlier in the week on our social media, which you can check out at Dave's Video Graveyard on WOWFM on Facebook, we posted a link to your Vimeo of Joystick Heroes, your short film. You mentioned earlier in the week that was your origin story, and I have to start by giving you one of the greatest compliments for someone that grew up watching so many movies where a precocious child was the main star.
Course,
and they were
it was all about that in the 90s.
As you get older, they're insufferable.
Yeah.
And outside of the likes of, like, I know everyone says Stranger Things nowadays, but there was a point where unless Spielberg was involved, you couldn't get a decent performance out of a kid.
It's tough.
I don't know if you've ever seen the Henry Thomas audition video of him trying to get E.T.
I have.
It is insane.
It is
tear-inducing.
He's crying and, oh my God,
Kid, you got the job.
Yeah.
But you managed to get performances out of kids, may I say, on par with Round the Twist. And none of them were precocious.
That is high praise, my friend.
And it was so much fun, man.
Yeah, thanks, dude.
I'm so glad that you started somewhere where obviously it showed that you had a love for the subject matter, but also you didn't buy into your own hype. So many directors I've met they start out by, I've been made director, so there's obviously a reason. Yeah. And they go on and they make like their passion project, and it's so self-serious. And this is what I want to convey, where it just looked like fun. My family enjoyed it, which is always a huge barometer of whether something's tacky or not in a good way. Yeah. So tell us about that. Is that something you did?
Yeah. So what
is that something you did with AC Arts? Or?
Oh no! That was well after AC Arts. I kind of started that in my last year of uni. I just started working with a couple of guys that I still work with to this day, Dave Gregan and Dan Vink.
Future episodes of GVG, I'm sure.
I'm sure they would be very good guests.
Yes.
So definitely talk to those boys. But yeah, I just met those guys and had started working with them, and we wanted to make something for Tropfest, basically.
Yep.
And I don't know. It's hard to say where it came from, but I wrote it, showed it to the lads, and they were like, "Yeah, this sounds great. This is a lot of fun," and we just kind of went from there, dude.
It's funny, I grew up thinking that I was this massive individual, but watching your video, it was my life up there on the screen. It was the song Killing Me Softly.
Well, you know what I should, I didn't put this in the film, but I should mention, it's actually based on a true story.
Yeah, right.
So I had a friend of mine growing up in primary school. His name was Michael. He's one of my best friends, and I used to hang out with him a lot at his house. And one of our big things, I was a big gamer growing up, clearly, if you've seen any of the stuff I've done. That's pretty obvious. But Michael was very, very good at Street Fighter.
Yes.
And I couldn't beat him. I got to say, I don't think I ever beat him. He was very, very good.
You didn't go down the path of like a Jow Sim button mash and just long arm him?
Dude, I tried it all.
Yeah.
I tried it all. He was very good. And he turned to me one day after beating me countless times in a row. He turned to me with complete sincerity, and this line is in the film. He turned to me and said, "Andrew, do you think I'm the best Street Fighter player in the world?" And my little 10-year-old brain at that point was like, you know what? Maybe you are. I didn't know any better, and this guy was good. So anyway, there was a little corner store right near his house, and this is in Pennington.
Yep.
Pennington, little corner store on Grand Junction Road. We used to go there and play video games. There was 3 or 4 arcade machines. One of them was Street Fighter. And exactly like in the film, we were there playing, and he was beating me. And then just out of nowhere, this kid just that we didn't know, he didn't go to our school, and we went to school just nearby.
Yeah.
So we knew a lot of the kids in the neighborhood. He came in, put in his 20 cents or whatever it was back then. It was the early 90s. It was a lot cheaper. And without saying a word, it was on.
Nice.
And he just decimated Michael. And I don't think he was ever the same, if I'm completely honest. His whole identity and ego had been shattered in one 90-second Street Fighter match. And the kid, we kind of just walked away. And I mean, I was probably at Michael's house for the rest of the day, and he was just a shell of a man, shell of a boy.
That really reminds me of a story with my oldest son. We went to a video game lock-in.
Yeah.
One of those paid.
Oh, love it.
Not the big ones, one of the indies. So it was all great games.
Yeah.
And we went along to this one Friday night, and so we paid our money. We're all taking turns of everything, and my son becomes quite enamored with playing Street Fighter. And so he starts button mashing his blanker, and he's like, I'm electric. If you hit me, you get hit.
Yeah.
So everyone was having a go, and a lot of the older dudes, really well-rounded individuals, I'll call them, they were...
Very diplomatic.
They started just destroying all us noobs that were just there for fun. So they'd be like, I'll have a go, and they'd destroy you. One of them said to my son, because no one else wanted to play because they'd kind of decimated the whole crew. One of them said to my son, I'll play you if you like. And at first he started going easy, and just through the clouds aligned, the planets aligned, everything was right. Just through sheer button mashing, my son beat this guy.
Wow.
At which point he started explaining to everyone there that something's wrong with the motherboard and stuff. Pulled the machine out from the wall and started taking out the motherboard and the cord and stuff to make himself feel better. And it was so beautiful because there were more basically noob parents such as ourselves than there were this crew. And so it was just so much fun. Everyone's just giving my son's thumbs up all night, oh, you're the Street Fighter champ. And just I know that that guy is somewhere whittling out of a piece of wood just my son's likeness.
Oh yeah,
because you know how those kind of things can really hurt.
Oh yeah.
Now, I was looking through your list of films that you have picked. Before we get to that, a quick message from Anthony saying a massive shout out to you and say hello. So we'll put
buddy.
that out there first.
Miss you, mate. See you soon.
Nice. Now, I decided, because your list was I think in the 3-year history of doing this show, your list is the closest to something I would have picked.
Yeah.
There was a few films that weren't on there. However, the vibe was dead on. I'm like, it's a bromance in the making.
Yeah, for sure.
So I decided I was going to give you a bit of a test. These are some iconic 1990s kids movies.
Okay.
I'm going to read you the synopsis as it appears on IMDb.
Okay.
And see if you can answer it. You get 10 out of 10.
Love it.
You get the packet of snakes. All to yourself.
Pressure. Okay.
All right, so starting off.
All right.
Plump kids are lured into joining a posh fat club with the promise of quick weight loss and good times, only to find the facility is in a woodland hellhole run by a psycho ex-fitness instructor.
Heavyweights.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nicely done.
Yeah.
Some of Judd Apatow's greatest work.
Oh, yeah, great. Yeah. And Ben Stiller, some of his best work. Yeah.
I love that he recycled the character for Dodgeball.
I've had that thought myself. Yeah.
Nice. Right. Misfits form their own opposing team to an elite Pee-wee football team coached by the elite team coach's brother.
Little Giants?
No, I thought that would be the one that you wouldn't get because it was vaguely enough. It was like, there's a few different ones it could be.
Excellent.
A young boy inadvertently gains possession of $1 million and proceeds to spend it, unaware that the gangsters to whom it belongs...
Blank check?
Blank check.
Yeah.
Nicely done. That's an iconic one.
Yeah.
And it's not in the questions, but I have to ask, do you remember the film Milk Money?
Milk Money. I remember the cover.
It's about kids that go to the big city with their pocket money because they want to see boobs.
Okay.
So they get a sex worker because they want to see boobs.
And she falls in love with their dad?
Yes.
Yeah.
Ed Harris is the dad, and I think it's Melanie Griffith.
I was going to say, yeah. I don't know if I've seen it, but I remember the cover.
All right, the next question. A young boy befriends an orangutan in a luxury hotel.
Oh, Dustin checks in.
Nicely done. After 3 kidnappers lose the baby they have kidnapped, both the police and the kidnappers are on the lookout for the baby.
Baby's Day Out.
I said baby like 40 times. A recently discharged major finds himself commanding a group of mismatched cadets.
Major Pain.
Oh, nicely done. Very nice.
Yeah.
A young boy, just short of being a monster, is adopted by a loving man and his wacky wife, and the laughs keep coming as the boy keeps pushing limits.
A boy who's almost a monster.
As in demeanor-wise. He's a monster.
Oh, Problem Child.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. You're nailing it. So far, you've got like 7 out of 7.
Yeah. Love it.
2 boys learn from a mysterious warrior that they are the heirs to the throne of a partisan and set out to overthrow the current monarchy.
Ooh.
It's actually, that one's quite vague for what it is.
Could you repeat that?
Okay. 2 boys learn from a mysterious warrior that they are the heirs to the throne of a partisan and set out to overthrow the current monarchy.
Oh, man.
I'll give you a clue. It's got Rob Schneider.
Oh, God. I think he might have stumped me.
It has Leslie Nielsen as the bad guy.
Oh.
We can come back to it.
Come back to it.
All right, cool. The next one. When an eccentric man-child gets his beloved bike stolen in broad daylight, he sets out across the US on the adventure of his life.
Oh, his bike stolen.
It's a little bit before our time. It's from 1985, and I just thought, given that the director featured on your list many a times, that perhaps you would know this one. It's an iconic...
Oh, yeah, Pee-wee. Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Big Adventure. Yeah. Nicely done. All right, now going back. Let's find it. 2 boys learn from a mysterious warrior that they are heirs to the throne of a small island country, and they have to overthrow the warlord that is running the island. The warlord, played by Leslie Nielsen. It's got Rob Schneider as one of the characters.
90s.
90s. It's... what do you do at the beach?
You swim.
Or
sink. Or drown.
It's a sport that you do at the beach.
Oh, volleyball.
No. It's in the water.
Surfing.
You're on the path.
Yeah.
So surfing.
Surfing.
Warriors and surfing.
Surf Ninjas?
There it is.
Yeah.
Surf Ninjas.
Yeah.
Now,
You know what? Surf Ninjas, I don't know if I've seen that one, to be honest.
wow, it belongs there.
Yeah, I think that one might have passed me by, but I am aware of it. Like, I can picture the cover. I can picture the little kid. Is it the kid? Who is that kid?
It is Keno from Ninja Turtles 2.
Ah, of course.
So he's the main character. And his brother is played by Rob Schneider when he's like 35. And he's meant to be a kid also. Okay, the final to get 10 out of 10. A young boy growing up in Brooklyn receives an odd variety of present for his birthday. A wooden cabinet from his older brother and a set of antique keys from his mother, as well as a tiny plastic Indian from his best friend. Unfortunately, no, it's Schindler's List. So, unfortunately, you don't get to have the lollies. I didn't cheat at all. Yes, it is Indian in the cupboard. I made it easy. That's 10 out of 10.
Thanks, man.
You are very
You held my hand through some of those, but I think I did all right.
A win's a win. Hey.
I think my 90s childhood movie cred is intact.
You don't stand at the Olympics with your gold medal and thank the person that shined it up before you put it on. No. So it's all you tonight. So
thank you,
let's get into the music. This is DVG. Don't forget, you can join in the conversation. Jump on our Facebook or our Instagram, Dave's Video Graveyard on WOWFM. Tell me that you pictured Salma Hayek as you heard that.
Oh, yeah.
That's pretty much everything, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is DVG. We are joined by Andrew Shanks taking us through his 10 favourite films of all time. Basically, you've given me 2 lists to work from, so we're going to go through the nostalgia list, and we'll also be talking this evening about your inspiration list, or basically, you know...
Like, that was a hard task, my friend.
You've got a nostalgia list.
Yeah.
For the derpers such as myself, and then you have the film wanker list, just in case
it's a little bit. It's a little bit like that, but I think there is a lot of crossover, massively.
Definitely. Now, your first choice this evening from 1989. It is not the film with Fred Savage that every guest ever has picked. That is The Princess Bride. We are talking about The Wizard, aka Joystick Heroes. You were telling me.
Yeah. It's in some parts of the world, it was called Joystick Heroes. Germany being one of them, I'm pretty sure, because a German Wikipedia page exists for the film where it's listed as Joystick Heroes. So,
I must admit, I only saw this for the first time a few years ago when a friend of mine...
I can imagine that was rough.
Because I was a Super Nintendo kid. My entry was Sega Master System, then Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
So I never had a Power Glove, and a friend of mine bought...
Well, I never knew anyone that had a Power Glove. They were I don't think they were very common in Australia, at least in the western suburbs of Adelaide.
Yeah, a good friend of ours from King Kaiju Collectibles managed to get a boxed mint one.
Amazing.
And he showed me, and I was like... Cool, it's a glove. And he's like, it's a Power Glove. I'm like...
And you just didn't get it?
And I had no reverence for what it was. And he's like, haven't you seen The Wizard? I'm like, no. And he was quite appalled because he knew my taste in movies.
Well, I'm quite appalled, but I guess this makes up for me missing Surf Ninjas.
Well, I saw Blues Brothers for the first time like last year. So
whoa,
these are just the way. I was too busy rewatching Demolition Man to get around to the classics.
That's fair.
That's how I was raised. Canon films, yes, but then classics, no.
Yeah.
So I've somewhere in the middle now. However, The Wizard, watched it for the first time last year. My kids were really loving it because it definitely has that real... the Explorers, Flight of the Navigator, all those kind of things. It's got that kind of vibe to it.
Kids on a journey, kids on a road trip.
But they're much like Scrubs. It just sucker punches you and goes, guess what? Time to feel some feels. And I wasn't ready for that. So it was a pretty powerful movie, surprisingly, for what it is.
Yeah. Well, you mean like the storyline with the sister? And
the boy, the family. Yeah. Wasn't it just kind of...
It's a family drama. There's that going on at its core. I mean, it's Rain Man for kids.
Yes. Definitely.
Yeah. Have you ever heard that comparison before?
No. Yeah, I mean, that's perfectly
it's
what it is.
It's the same film. Two brothers on the road to a destination, hustling along the way. Yep. It's the same film.
Yeah. Fred Savage, though, that's the X factor. Fred Savage.
That was a big selling point in 1989, I'm assuming.
Well, I'd assume so.
Yeah.
Because, Fred Savage for me was Princess Bride and then Austin Powers, The Spy That Shagged Me.
Sure.
Because he's Moly Mole.
For me, Fred Savage is just the Wizard. Like, I saw a little bit of what was the
The
show?
Wonder Years.
The Wonder Years. I do remember the Wonder Years, but it was never something I watched a lot of.
No.
The Wizard is Fred Savage for me. Like
Yes.
that's what I picture when I picture Fred Savage.
So this was a big staple for your childhood?
Yeah, it really was, man. It was just one of those. It's one of those films, you know. We've all got them. Those films that you just watch over and over again as a child. It was just one of those ones for me. And you know, the older I got, my love for it never really ceased. But the older I got, I did start to realize, you know, it is a massive ad for Nintendo, and its product placement is very gratuitous. But it's such a fun ride.
My favorite franchise in the entire universe is a toy commercial, so I would never hold that against any properties.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man.
But yeah, and the video game aspect of it, you know, I was a big gamer kid, and just the idea of these kids going on a video game filled adventure, just spoke to me, dude.
And so how much was the Power Glove back in the day? You don't know? It was just a
look,
grail item kind of thing?
Yeah, it's just one of the, like I really only knew it from this movie. If
Yeah.
not for this movie, I don't think I would have known it really existed. Because I kind of I did play the NES, but I never owned one. I always played it at a friend's house. So I was well aware. I played a lot of NES, but I just never owned one. But yeah, I just don't think they were very common here.
No, surely not, because we obviously weren't a testing ground when it come to new products.
Of course not.
If it boomed in the US, we would get it. Like I remember pretty much every year there'd be an ad on TV where they're like, oh, coming up this Christmas, the number one toy is going to be this because it's big in the
Tickle
US.
Me Elmo.
Yeah. So we were basically guided by the craze that was happening in the US at the time.
That's not really a thing anymore.
No, not at all.
You would hear that about October maybe. You would hear there'd be news reports about this is the hot item in America, and you're like, ooh, wow.
I remember watching like an ad, like because I lived in the country, and I remember watching an ad, and it wasn't even an ad. It was like a paid advertisement on the news, and it was like interviewing all the mums and dads in Maya Centre. Like, what are you getting the kids? And they're like, Ninja Turtles. And I was like, Mom, Dad, I want one of them turtles.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that was the start of an epic odyssey. But yeah, Power Glove meant nothing to me. So what was your entry level video game console?
I reckon it was, well, I had an Atari.
Yep.
And that was like a hand-me-down from my dad, who he had just had it lying around from his days being a gamer.
Yep.
So we had an Atari for a few years, and then, but yeah, I think the first one I got was Mega Drive.
Nice.
And I remember it was funny because I had been a Nintendo kid up to that point, and I had my eyes set on a Super Nintendo, and it was, I don't know what was going on, but I guess I'd been saving money, I'd been a good boy, and it was like this weekend, after months and months and months of asking for it, we're going to pick up a Super Nintendo this weekend. The week leading to that weekend, I went to my friend's house after school, and he had just gotten a Mega Drive with Sonic, and my mind was blown.
Yeah.
And I remember being picked up by my mum, and she's like, hi, having a good day at school. And the first thing I'm like, Mum, we need to talk. I don't want a Super Nintendo anymore. It's Mega Drive time.
Because I'm pretty sure the original Sonic the Hedgehog come with the console, like not built in, but the cartridge did.
Yeah.
Much like Super Mario did with the SNES.
Well, no, you know what? It didn't come with it, but there was this mail away thing where you got the console, and then basically you would mail away, and you would either get one or two games. You would either get Sonic or you would get Columns.
Oh, no.
And now, I was a bit late to the game with the Mega Drive, and all of my friends had done the mail away thing, and they'd gotten Sonic. And I guess, you know, luck wasn't with me. And I mailed away, waited, and yeah, I got Columns.
I had the spoiled boy problems where I went to a friend's house that had a Mega Drive, and he had the game Skitching.
Oh, yeah.
And I played that, and I was obsessed. And so I begged and pleaded, Mum, Dad, for Christmas, I want this. And so Mum and Dad went to the toy shop without me, and Dad's mate run the toy shop.
Oh, how convenient.
I know. And he's like, oh, he doesn't want a Mega Drive. He wants a Super Nintendo with Bubsy the Bobcat. And I must say,
stooged.
I don't know, long term, I think nostalgia-wise, that's
Holds up.
still sits in my heart.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
How often do you revisit The Wizard?
Look, I haven't revisited it in a while, but it is one I have revisited a lot as an adult. And I mean, clearly, huge inspiration on Joystick Heroes.
Yes.
The short film we talked about earlier. and continues to be an inspiration in the sort of stuff I've done with Fury Fingers, even though we're not making a film necessarily like this. But just the idea of being able to combine my love of movies and video games, I mean, it all stems back to this movie. And, you know, I'm still doing it. I'm still trying to find ways to combine video games and, you know, movies.
One thing I do find super endearing, just looking into Todd Holland, the director, I love that he never lost that flavour, because he made this in 89. And then in 2000, he made Malcolm in the Middle. And that is the same flavour as this film.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, he never lost that.
Yeah.
A little bit of the aesthetics, but just the vibe of the thing.
Totally. Yeah.
Awesome. How did you manage to tie all your film work so tightly? And it's not always right on the nose, but you're so video game adjacent in all the work that you do. How have you managed that?
It's not something I ever planned, dude. It's just kind of happened. Like, it's weird. It was just kind of, it's just, I'm always been a massive gamer. Like, just from day one, I still am. And as far as I can remember, I've always loved games, and I've always loved movies. So being able to combine them has just always been something I've done just naturally, man. It's hard to explain. Yeah, I don't know. And it's look, it's not something I want to do forever. I don't want to just make video game related films. I was going to say, though,
imagine if video games became work to you. That would be soul crushing.
Oh, yeah. Look, that's why I've never gone down the path of becoming like a Let's Player, or, you know, I've just kind of been really, all respect to people who do that. But it's not something I've ever wanted to open the door to, even though, like, I think I would be quite good at it, to be honest.
Tell me more about how good you are.
Yeah.
All right, let's jump back into the music as we go on to your next choice. This is DVG.
Awesome.
It is 100.5 WOWFM DVG. Now, the next choice by our very good friend Andrew Shanks, that's going to put me in a movie one day, is Empire Records. It is a film that follows 24 hours in the life of the young employees of Empire Records. It was only this year I realised Lucas was the big-eared stoner from Dazed and Confused.
Yep. Good actor. You didn't even... Yeah, I don't think I realised that for a long time either.
And who would believe that an Adelaide boy or a local Aussie boy would go on to star in a film with Gwar?
Yeah. Who would have thought?
Empire Records. Tell us about it.
Look, it was one of those movies. I think I discovered this as an early teen, and I just looked at these kids, these characters, and just thought they were the coolest people. And I always wanted to work in a video store. That was kind of my dream job. I never got to do it, and this was kind of, you know, a little bit of that too.
Yep.
That was sort of maybe a second dream job, to work in a music store, especially in that era. So I just looked at these kids, I looked at their lives, and just thought they were the coolest people ever. And just a really fun movie. It's
teenage high fidelity.
Totally.
It's a mid. And what I do like is, even though you watch it now and it's pretty cringy how 90s it is.
It is very 90s. I watched it with someone recently who had same age, but who hadn't never seen it.
Yeah.
And after years of hearing so much hype from me and other people who, you know, it's pretty common for people to have a soft spot for this film. She just didn't get it. And I thought for sure she would, because we have so many of the same interests, and she was just like, meh.
And I will say, and not being sexist, but this was the boys' step in to a chick flick, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
like it was essentially a romantic comedy to a degree.
Oh, it really was.
But it had enough coolness. It wore enough plaid shirts and stuff.
Yeah.
For dudes to be okay to watch it as well.
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, it's a really cool ensemble that a lot of films have tried to copy it, but not managed to get just lightning in a jar that is this film. You got Debbie Mazar, who I've always got a soft spot for. I loved her. Actually, just realised her and LaPaglia in So I Married an Axe Murderer together.
Oh, there you go.
So they go on a blind date. And of course, Rex Manning Day. We have to get to the peak of films before we go on about Empire Records. Rex Manning, who is also Michael Kerrigan from one of the greatest sequels of all time. You were
Good segue.
You were almost going to choose Grease 2 on tonight's list.
I really was. Yeah, I'm very much to a Grease 2 guy.
Nice.
And yeah, just like just another one that I watched so much as a kid. I know those songs so well. I know those songs probably better than the Grease 1 songs. And we all know the Grease 1 songs, regardless of whether you like Grease or not. You've heard those songs.
Yeah.
But the Grease 2 songs, I know those songs and love those songs even more. There's just there was just something about it. Again, I think I saw it at the right time. It's one of those, like, I probably discovered it 11 or 12, and it's just so full of sexual innuendo that is just not appropriate for someone of that age.
Well, I know Reproduction, and
what a song.
Let's do it for our country.
Yeah.
We're going to score tonight.
Yeah.
Isn't about bowling, I learned.
Yeah. Who would have thought?
I absolutely love, I don't know if you ever saw I can't even think what it was called now. It was a skit show by one of the writers from Conan O'Brien. And he did there was a lot of the Nolan Batman parodies that he did. And
yes, Pete Holmes.
Yeah,
I love Pete Holmes.
He did this amazing reference in one of them. It was in the Batman Begins one. And the Scarecrow puts him down in front of a screen and sprays him with the fear stuff.
Amazing.
And he goes, "You will see whatever you're scared of.
Yeah.
What are you afraid of?" And he goes, "I'm afraid of Goose Mackenzie." No, he goes, "I'm afraid of the work of Christopher McDonald." He goes, "What?" And he comes up on screen, and Christopher McDonald plays himself, comes up on screen, and he's like, "Hey, Christopher, you probably know me as Shooter McGavin."
Yeah.
And Batman goes, "Oh my God, it's Goose Mackenzie." He goes, "Oh, deep cut. I like it." And it's the only time Grease 2's ever been referenced in something else. And it was just beautifully done. Watching Flubber with the family recently, and Christopher McDonald's the bad guy in that as well.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm due for a rewatch sometime soon. And then you mentioned it. And it's the first time in conversation that I wasn't the one that brought up Grease 2. So I was both
I bring it up
threatened
a lot,
and impressed.
Yeah, no, I bring it up a lot. I'm a big fan. Yeah. And it's like, I'm not ashamed to say that, like, I bust out those songs every now and then. Like, I listen to those songs more than I've rewatched the movie. Like, yeah.
And anytime, like, because everyone's like we were talking about with the film nerds, anytime someone brings up Michelle Pfeiffer,
dude, she
and
gave
they
me
talk
life.
about Catwoman, I'm like, no, that's Stephanie.
Yeah.
That's Stephanie from Grease 2.
Yeah.
Oh, man. We've both just fallen back in love.
I know.
There are literal love hearts floating above our heads. Now, tell us about the web series you're working on at the moment.
Sure. Love, Guns, and Level Ups. It's basically a continuation of the sort of stuff we've been doing, combining video games, our love of video games and our love of film, but trying to do something a little bit more grounded and based in reality. So it's what we've called we're calling an action adventure rom-com. So at its heart, it's a romance story. It's a classic love story, told through the lens of video games, basically.
Yeah.
And basically a couple who meet online through an online video game. We see their relationship grow and blossom through, very modern ways, whether it be meeting up in video game worlds and through social media and all the ways that relationships kind of develop these days. And then we see their relationship in real life. And yeah, it's basically, it's a rom-com. Yeah.
And what I do like is, because obviously you wear your heart on your sleeve when it comes to your film choices, because they've all got that vaguely romantic but cool video game, like all those things.
Yeah.
But we're also living in a world now where that's kind of become the in thing.
Oh,
because
it's totally mainstream.
If you told me that like Ready Player One would ever get released about 10 years ago, or when the book first came out, I was like, not going to happen.
Yeah, and by Spielberg of all people.
I know. Well, no one else could do it because of the
True.
It had to be someone from Anne Boleyn, because they were like,
I
need to borrow everything that's cool ever.
Yeah.
Then you get the likes of like Guns Akimbo, like all these other films.
Yet.
That's really fun.
It looks great.
Nick from Blue Heelers pops up.
Nick from Blue Heelers.
Yeah, the actor that's Nick in Blue Heelers is in there as Samara Weaving's dad.
Amazing.
And so it's amazing to have not only someone from Adelaide in the film, but someone from Blue Heelers in the film.
Yeah, great.
So I reckon it was shot perhaps in NZ, because you also get anytime Rhys Darby shows up,
classic.
somewhere around there.
Yeah.
That's really great. Then obviously that Deadpool, that Ryan Reynolds movie that's probably never going to get released. The New Guy, or
Free Guy.
Free Guy.
Yeah, Free Guy. So Free Guy, it's funny. Like Free Guy, me and my boys over at Fury Fingers, our first web series.
Furry Fingers.
Furry Fingers, yeah. Well, yep.
TM.
Our first web series is a web series called Goons Inc., which we released about 2 years ago now, 4-part web
Featuring
series.
pretty much every guest we've ever had on DVD.
Yeah, many, including Matt Basso is one I'm aware of.
Big Brody
shout
Marshall.
Shout out to Matt. Yeah, Big Brody Marshall. He pops up in our new one too.
I did see him in the trailer. I was like,
yeah.
lovely. You've got Wrestle Crowe in there.
Yeah. So yeah,
You would say the vibe of the new guy or
Free Guy. Yeah, so Goons is about the sort of the goons in video games, the henchmen, the cannon fodder, all those the background players. And yeah, when we saw the trailer for Free Guy, we were like, damn, somebody has stolen our idea because there's like so many similarities. That's the
first thing I thought as well.
Especially the trailer, the way the trailer starts. It starts with this kind of montage, which is like, this is what's shit about being a goon.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much exactly how our series Goons begins. It begins with this whole sequence where that shows you what life is like as a goon. So, yeah, some weird similarities there. It's the way of the world, though. You've got to be quick with these ideas.
Yeah, that's it. What I do like is you're managing to do all this amazing stuff without leaning heavily on any licensing. Like, you're not having to go, oh, look at this, remember this?
I mean, we have done that.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like a lot of the shorts that we've done on YouTube, like, you know, one of our first videos that we ever did was a gritty take on Super Mario. And we've done gritty.
I saw that is actually Anthony Sims showed me that when he tried
Anthony
to connect us.
Movie. Yeah. And we've done a Pac-Man film, and, you know, we have done a bunch of films that are based on more recent properties as well.
Yep.
So that was kind of the starting point of the Fury Fingers YouTube channel, was to kind of just have fun with filmmaking. We really wanted to experiment with VFX, and we were big gamers, so we just kind of, it started over a few like parties where me and my friends would just, you'd have those conversations. Wouldn't it be funny if Mario did something or something? And, you know, you have those conversations and you laugh about it, but it never goes anywhere.
Yeah.
And at one point we just decided, what if we just start doing this? Because we were kind of bored as filmmakers. We were trying to go through the traditional methods of, you know, going through the funding bodies and stuff, and having, you know, varying levels of success there, more so not so much. So we just decided, fuck it, let's just do it ourselves. And YouTube was, you know, blowing up at this point. We're talking like 2011, 2012. And yeah, that's where it began. We just thought, let's make videos about our favorite video games, but also video game culture, what it's like to be a gamer, and let's make little short, funny things. And it kind of just evolved from there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so awesome. I remember writing in like 2012 this music video treatment, and it essentially had little bits and elements of Goons Inc. because I had this idea for a music video where basically a band pull up at a service station and a guy comes up to him with a flyer and goes, hey, we're doing like a LARP event. We're doing it's a war games tomorrow. And the band like totally missed the point. Like, oh, war games. Oh, like video games and stuff. And like, oh yeah, like Skyrim and stuff. And the guy's like, I don't know what that is, but okay, yeah, we'll come. And then the music video is essentially the band show up thinking it was Modern Warfare. Yeah. And so they show up with paintball guns, like basically it was pretty much just ripped off that episode of Community, the original paintball episode. But it was that with them massacring LARP players.
Cool.
So
love it.
Yeah. Do with it what you will.
I'll take that one. Thank you very much.
Do with the idea that's now played out a million times over and over again.
Yeah.
Awesome. So is there anything else you wanted to talk about Empire Records other than you celebrate Rex Manning Day every year?
Yeah, no, I try to do a an Instagram post every day on Rex Manning Day, but I usually have to remind myself what the date is. I know it's somewhere in April. So when I get to April, I'm like, oh, when is it exactly? Because like right now, I can't tell you when it is.
And then whenever it's posted on like US like social media, I'm always like, oh, it means I'm a day late now. Like,
I know.
I've missed it.
Yeah, I have missed it a few years, but I try to do a post on Rex Manning Day. I'm a big fan.
If you ever are completely bored online, I've really got to recommend that you look into the Maxwell Caulfield interview he did just before Grease 2 came out.
Okay.
And he'd kind of shunned all his friends and stuff, and he'd bought like a mansion and a brand new car because like
He was a big
it
shot.
was the ticket to the big time. And then
he was the new Danny Zuko.
Yeah. And then to realize how it went. But if you can find that interview, it is amazing because it's such a hindsight 2020 moment.
Yeah, great, man.
Awesome. We will get back into the music. This is 100.5 WOW FM. It is 100.5 WOW FM. No notice whatsoever. Have you played the remastered Tony Hawk's?
I haven't yet, but I'm keen to, man.
It is just as fantastic as the
I
old
hope
one.
it is. Have they nailed the physics?
The physics is perfect.
Great.
Everything is the same.
Yeah.
The graphics are obviously way better.
Are you racking up some sick combos?
I am. However, my issue that is with, because it's 1 and 2,
Yeah.
they've put the manuals from part 3 in it, so you can do a manual between tricks and stuff.
Okay, yeah.
And that's not what we're into. That's not who we were. We were just there to put Papa Roach's Blood Brothers and You by Bad Religion on and skate at the high school. That's all we wanted to do.
Yeah. Or in the warehouse.
Coming up this Friday night, I believe. Got to double check that it is definitely Friday night. It is. Friday night, WOWFM is proud to present Rhymes for Change, a fundraising event on Friday, September 11, supports Mosh Australia, a charity about the minimalisation of suicide harm, because unfortunately suicide is the leading cause of death for Australians between 15 and 44, but with support it can be prevented. The event is generously supported by performances from seven local hip-hop and rap musicians. Tickets are just $10 at the door. Joining us helps support people in crisis, so make sure you head along to the Little Red Door this Friday night at 8 p.m. For more details, hit up our events page at wowfm.org. We are continuing DVG right now, talking to Andrew Shanks. Shout out to Anthony Sims. He said something about he didn't want to play heavy metal anymore on the radio, but I'm not sure what he was talking about.
Yeah.
But shout out to Anthony for that message, and I'm sure everyone can tune into the new version of his radio show on Sunday night, playing no heavy metal whatsoever. We are going on to the next two film choices, both directed by the guy that made everyone wear stripy sleeves in the late 90s. We are talking about Tim Burton. You have chosen Beetlejuice and Edward Scissorhands, basically 2 years apart, starting off with Beetlejuice, when Alec Baldwin was actually an attractive person.
Yeah. He looks like almost like a different man in this, doesn't he?
He looks like a leading man in this. And then you see... And not to...
he just really filled out over the years.
Well, between him and Russell Crowe in that new, Road Rage movie, it's like...
Unhinged.
Yeah, they're racing to who's going to look most like Wilfred Brimley. That's what it seems like. It's just like...
It's all in the neck. There's something happens with the neck.
It's like... I feel like Alec Baldwin and Russell Crowe have both worn suits so long that their bodies grew into the shape of suits.
I can't picture Alec Baldwin in anything other than a suit, to be honest.
Yeah,
it would feel very unnatural to see him in anything other than a suit.
Because that's the funniest thing is watching the most recent Mission Impossible, which is so much better than any Tom Cruise film has any right to be.
They do okay, those
It
Mission
is
Impossible
pretty
films. They really do.
Damn awesome. But yeah, he's wearing a suit and that, and it's like...
Yeah.
Are you just going to talk like Jack from 30 Rock?
He's on an Australian ad at the moment.
Really?
Yeah, I want to say it's not Menulog, but kind of one of those
One
ads.
of those ones, yeah. Is it just the voice message he left his his daughter that was super offensive? That'd be cool if that was tied into it somehow.
Unfortunately not. No,
Damn.
I think that might be a PR nightmare.
And Russell Crowe, if you go back and watch, this is where we just fat shame. This is the fat shaming celebrities section of the show. Russell Crowe, if you go back, watch LA Confidential or one of the coolest movies ever, Virtuosity.
Yeah.
And you're like, damn, he is one attractive leading man.
I'll give you another one. Mystery Alaska.
Mystery Alaska.
I was a big hockey kid growing up. So anything related to hockey, I was into, obviously Mighty Ducks. But Mystery Alaska, I rewatched it very recently. I don't know why, I just thought
Kurt
of it.
Russell, yeah? Is that the Kurt Russell?
No. That's Miracle. No, Mystery Alaska is Russell Crowe in the lead role, playing
the Quick and the Dead. Also, he was really skinny and handsome.
Yeah. So I had the same thought. I'm like, he used to be quite the looker and quite the leading man, and I mean he still is, but he has let himself go.
Well, because before you'd see him in Gladiator and be like, wow, what an imposing leading man. And now you see him, you're like, who let their uncle go on the talk show? But that's just my opinion.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's not about Alec Baldwin. And before Junior Davies had a weird shaped face, we are talking about Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
One of Michael Keaton's greatest roles that's not wearing a bat cow.
It definitely is.
Why did you pick this film?
Just
Because you love Jeffrey Jones.
Yeah, I'll give you that. Yeah.
In movies, of course.
Yeah, of course. No, Tim Burton. This whole era of Tim Burton I was a big fan. This whole run, this whole like early 90s, late 80s to early to mid 90s run, like all bangers.
Yeah.
All of those films. Probably up until it probably stops at around Mars Attacks, I want to say.
That was the first thing I remember being genuinely let down by.
Hey, look, I liked it at the time, but I haven't revisited it in a long time. I wonder if it holds up.
I revisited it and actually liked how janky the CGI is.
Yeah.
And that almost plays into the B movie that it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
I
remember, like, even as a kid, I did like it, but I remember looking back on it now, it just felt really disconnected. Like, there's so many characters. It's a big ensemble film. I don't remember really who the lead is, or like I remember Pierce Brosnan's in it, and
had Glenn Close, Jack Nicholson playing dual roles,
Sarah Jessica Parker's
head
on a dog. Is
Michael J. Fox, yes, her head on a chihuahua.
Yeah, Christine Applegate in a very, very quick
blink and
if you miss it scene. Yeah,
the dude out of the start of the Black Parade music video.
Oh no way! You're right. I think he's one of the leads. Yeah, he's like kind of the. Yeah, I don't know. Like, and does he save the day? Is he part of the crew that saves the day?
Yeah, because he unplugs the Mel Haggard that makes their heads explode.
Yeah.
I'm going to revisit it again, though.
I really want to revisit it,
I always remember because the advertising for that never let you know how violent it was. So I went along and I was probably still a little bit younger than I should have been for what it was.
Yeah.
I remember seeing Jack Black be obliterated, and I was just like, I'm not ready for this film.
Yeah.
However,
Beetlejuice. Yeah, just the whole aesthetic of it, dude. I think it was one of the first times I really looked at a film and just really fell in love with the look of it.
Yeah.
And the look and the feel of it. Like, I don't think, even as a kid, I could tell that the look of this was something special.
Yeah.
And as a kid, I didn't quite know what it was. I wasn't across the idea of a director's vision or, an auteur having a stamp over, a filmography, but it was just that whole look and feel and the world that was created and the fact it was all practical. I love that, like the tactile nature of everything. I like the house and the way they go into the model, and
first time I heard the F word in a movie.
Probably for me too, man. One of the first times, and we can't go past Winona Ryder, man. Like,
and I cannot hear that Harry Belafonte song without instantly I got to revisit Beetlejuice at some point. The practical effects, like you say, hold up so well.
They really do.
And it was also it's kind of revealing of the people we've all become as adults, because we were raised on these movies that were so surreal in a lot of ways. Like this is not directly, but it spiritually belongs in like the same barrel as like Drop Dead Fred and all these surreal.
For sure.
Have you ever seen?
I used to love Drop Dead Fred. That's one I need to revisit too.
Yeah, definitely. It holds up, I've got to say.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen the movie Stay Tuned? It's
no.
got John Ritter and basically, having a mental break. Jeffrey Jones from this movie.
Okay. Yeah.
Is the devil. And he gives him a free television package, and he gets sucked into the television, and it's hell. But every channel is vaguely like based on something else.
Yeah, okay.
So it's like a really cool surreal film. But like he ends up on the set of Zane's World, which is like a parody of Wayne's World and stuff. And I remember watching as a kid and seeing like the Wayne's World set, and thinking that it was actually Mike Myers, and like because it was so close to what it was. But yeah, that's the same kind of movie as this. Even like everyone hates it, but 1993's Freaked with Alex Winters and it's just those MTV movies where it was just like, I feel we lose a lot of it because there's almost like outside of the independent film, there's a lot of risk assessment that goes into making something. So they don't want too weird. It has mass appeal seems to be all they want.
Oh, for sure.
Which is why
For
you
sure.
end up getting all the things that Tim Burton churns out now. Like I remember the Deathly Hallows, was it? Or whatever the...
Sleepy Hollow?
Not Sleepy Hollow. It's the Michelle Pfeiffer, Johnny Depp, believe it or not, Tim Burton movie. I can't think what it was called. It was based on an old vampire TV show.
Oh, yeah.
That is so bad. Like
Shadow something.
the Dark Shadows or
Dark Shadows.
Dark Shadows, yeah.
Dark Shadows, yeah.
terrible thing.
Yeah, no good.
Now, because the other thing that you've chosen is 1990s Edward Scissorhands,
Yeah.
which
These two films really go hand in hand in a lot of ways.
the juxtaposition of the bright suburban, essentially, Amber Lynn Entertainment wet dream of a suburb,
Yeah.
but just done in a real surreal, like
Slightly heightened.
Yeah,
a
everything's-
weird time capsule. Like, you're not quite sure what era this is, really. It could be the 50s, could be the 80s.
Yeah.
It's this weird, yeah.
Funnily, it resembles highly the 50s set in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, where the atomic bomb goes off.
You're so
It's
right.
like one of those little...
You're so right, yeah. Yeah.
Actually, I can't think what it was called, but I watched a movie earlier this year. It was an indie horror film, and they go and move into like a flat in this suburb where everything looks exactly the same.
Okay.
But it has a bit of that Edward Scissorhands vibe to the look of just the symmetrical houses and stuff.
Yeah.
Really cool film, but
Yeah.
really weird.
Yeah, cool.
But yeah, Edward Scissorhands, it's an absolute classic, and
My first introduction to Johnny Depp.
it also spawned one of the greatest porn parodies on earth, which was Edward Penis Hands.
Yeah, it's a classic.
It is a classic.
We've all been there. Yeah.
Between that and Dwayne's World, they were the two that I always remember seeing in the VHS store.
Yeah, and again, I have to say it again, Winona Ryder.
Yep.
Big fan of Winona.
What did you think of Tim Burton's Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory? Or Charlie and the Chocolate Factory?
No, I didn't like it. Didn't love it. I mean, I love Burton of this era, and then it kind of just all goes downhill from there for me. There's very few in his...
To me, there is one shining light,
Yeah.
and it's a love letter to his original creations.
Oh, Frankenweenie.
Frankenweenie
Yeah.
is perfect, but
It is
you
good.
can't sell it to anyone because
Yeah.
they're like, no, Tim Burton's. It's like, no, it's... And because obviously Coraline also came in around there. I'm like,
yeah.
it's just as good as Coraline, even though that's not a Burton property.
Mm.
It owes everything that it is to a Burton property.
Yeah,
But
totally. It's a shame he's kind of a parody of himself.
Yeah.
Him and Johnny Depp. They've
Yeah.
just both become such parodies of themselves. But yeah, it kind of ends in the mid-90s for me with Burton. But these films will stand the test of time,
yeah,
for sure.
Oh, 100%. And like you said, the amount of practical
in both these
in-camera
movies,
stuff
yeah.
in both those films
Yeah.
make them timeless in a way that you're not going to get with the future of film
Yeah.
unless people start doing complete practical again.
Yeah.
And just using CGI for like complementary reasons, not like
That is the dream. That is the ideal.
my biggest heartbreak when it comes to film was the second Machete, because
yeah.
like you said, Robert Rodriguez is one of my favorite filmmakers of all time.
Yeah.
He started using CGI blood
Too
in the
much.
second Machete movie, and I was
Yeah.
like, I'm out. This looks like one of those like made direct to DVD Dawn of the Dead sequels, like the Diary
Yeah.
of the Dead or Survival of the Dead.
I feel like he got drunk with power.
Yes.
I
I think he just spread himself too thin,
That
because
too.
he's like,
Yeah.
I'm going to make 18 Spy Kid movies before the
Yeah.
end of the week,
Yeah.
which I do love the Spy Kids films.
They're fun for what they are, for sure.
And
Don't forget Shark Boy and Lava Girl.
no, I'm not interested. Taylor Lautner upset me in those Adam Sandler films. I believe it was The Ridiculous Six,
Yeah.
which was horrendous.
So bad.
But I did love That's My Boy.
Yeah.
I would recommend that one. Yeah, so you do have like a love of all the early 90s Burton?
Yeah, just the aesthetic of them, the look of them. There's just something so timeless about them. You know, Edward Scissorhands, I've kind of always looked at it like it's like a modern day fairy tale in a lot of ways. Very gothic fairy tale, but
Yep.
yeah.
And it created its own genre of musical culture in the early 2000s, because
really did.
emo became let's just do whatever Tim Burton did.
This and Jack Skellington. My sister's an emo starter kit, basically.
Pretty much. Now, don't forget, you can join in the conversation. Simply jump on our Facebook, Dave's Video Graveyard, at WOWFM, on WOWFM even, and let us know how we're going. This is DVG. I have got to stop playing that because I cannot concentrate because I just think about, I really need to rewatch MacGruber anytime soon.
Oh, yeah, okay.
That is. Have you seen that film?
I have, but only once a long time ago.
Everyone hates it the first time, but I promise you it has rewatched.
Oh, look, I'm a big wrestling guy.
Yeah.
So that opening scene where all the wrestlers get blown up, I was pretty on board at that point. Yeah.
Great movie. Do you like Ready to Rumble?
I do. Yeah, I got a soft spot for it. I was a
WCW kid, so
I wasn't so much, but I was very into wrestling as a boy. Yeah, very, very into it. And I did get into WCW, but I was more of a WWE.
Oh yeah, well, it was easy to get in Australia.
So easy.
Some nights Turner classic movies wouldn't switch over, so you wouldn't get Nitro on a Saturday night because it would just be Gone with the Wind.
Okay,
it's like, again.
I just used to hire the VHS. Yeah,
Coliseum home video.
Yeah,
awesome. All right, so it's time for the quiz now, where we get to know all about you. So you get to write your own narrative, believe it or not.
Amazing.
What was your local video store growing up?
Okay, local reference. It was two that aren't there anymore, but Atlantic Video.
Military Road?
Yep, and Videola on Semaphore Road.
Don't know it.
You don't know it?
No.
So, I don't know what it is now, but it's kind of sort of between where Atlantic was and where we are now. It's kind of in the middle.
Okay.
Halfway between. And just on Semi Road, it was a little family-run store. It was just a mum.
The mum and the pops.
Mum and a pop and the two boys.
Yeah.
And I kind of grew up with these guys. And funny story about that video store. They closed down sort of, I don't know, I want to say the early 2000s. And then I didn't see these guys for years and years and years. And then over 10 years later, I was in Victor Harbour and I ran into one of the sons. And he recognized me. He remembered my name. And I was kind of blown away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the foundation of some of the greatest friendships you'll ever make.
Yeah. I mean, they were a lot older than me. But, they watched me grow up. And and I watched them grow up because they were kind of like probably teenagers when I first started going there, and then married, kids, and it was a great little community, that store. Videola.
That's a great story.
Yeah. And then one other one, Focus Video, which used to be next to Hungry Jack's in Port Adelaide. Those three were sort of the ones. But Atlantic Video is the one that I have the most memories of. Yeah.
Nice. What was your local... Oh, I already read that one. Who goes on your Mount Rushmore of actors or actresses?
Oh, man, this is so tough.
Got to do it.
So tough. But I'm going to go... It's a kind of a weird mix. But I'm sort of delving into my childhood, going with nostalgia, going with people who kind of shaped my viewing habits and the stuff I like. So she's already come up a couple of times, and I'm going with Winona Ryder as one of them.
Wow.
And it's really, I mean, if I'm honest, I'm really just basing that on those two films. Because, I mean, she has done a lot of other
You are a massive fan of Mr. Deeds.
Hey, look, it's not her best hour, but there's some other great roles in there. I love it.
She was great in Mermaids.
Okay, yeah, Mermaids, Little Women. Night on Earth is a great one.
Girl Interrupted.
Yeah.
Night on Earth.
Night on Earth, yeah. She plays a cabbie. That's a great one. Jim Jarmusch film. Late. Reality Bites.
Of course.
Yeah. So that sort of early 90s era of Winona was... I'm a big fan of that.
Not so much the Gary Oldman Dracula.
Yeah.
Because she's doing the worst... Keanu Reeves is doing the worst accent, but she's there for it.
Yeah, sure.
Who else is on there?
I'm going JCVD.
Nice.
Because he was kind of the first... I want to say he was kind of the first movie star I really, really got obsessed with. He was the first action guy. I wasn't an Arnie guy. I wasn't a Stallone guy. I was always a JCVD guy. And then that sort of led to just getting into a lot of martial arts films, and then sort of discovered, I discovered JCVD before I discovered Bruce Lee.
I was much the same. The canon film, even the likes of, Michael Dudikoff and
Yeah.
David Bradley from the American
Oh,
anything
American
Canon
Ninja.
put out.
Yeah.
I reckon half of the martial arts section in our local video store was legit,
Canon.
like Bruce Lee and
Yeah.
that, but the other half was Canon.
Yeah.
And it was always like, oh, I kind of want to get this, but this one has a cyborg on the front cover as well as martial arts, so I'm going with that one.
Yeah.
So that's a really good call. Who else is on there?
I'm gonna go with Jim Carrey.
Yep.
Because again, just one of the first actors I really became obsessed with. Like I think he was one of the first actors that I looked at and I was like, I could see the body of work and I could see the style over his and I'm talking Ace Ventura 2, The Mask, that era.
All in the same year. 1994 was a big year for him.
What a year! Just out of nowhere, he's the biggest comedy actor on the planet.
He did Dumb and Dumber, Ace Ventura, and The Mask. 94.
What a trifecta!
I don't think anyone else has come close. I think we did some research, and I think Tom Hanks was the only one that had a run of gold.
The mid '90s was a good run.
Yeah.
For it, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's I could also go with Robin Williams.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just again, Aladdin, Mrs. Doubtfire, so many others.
Definitely.
Yeah, massive respect. Love Robin Williams.
There's an infinite sadness that comes with obviously his movies now,
Of
but
course.
at the same time,
Yeah.
it's just so much heart.
So
as
much
well.
joy, man. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think that's 4.
Yeah, no, that's
Yeah.
fine. Would you prefer to watch a movie at home or at the cinemas?
Definitely cinema these days. Just because the world we live in, there's too many distractions. I love just going to the cinema and being able to switch off, put the phone away, and just really engage.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I find that at home, I'm not watching things 100%. I'm too distracted.
100%.
Yeah.
And what is your food of choice at the cinema?
Oh, look, it's a classic. Just a popcorn and a
Popcorn.
soft drink combo.
Hole in the bottom?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. If you could only have one for the rest of your life, would you choose comedy, horror, or drama?
This is real tough, especially as a filmmaker, because these are genres I would I want to dabble in as a filmmaker. These are genres I love, but I think it would have to be comedy for me.
Yep.
Because it's just you can't live without a laugh, and I think when comedy's at its best, you get drama and you get horror.
Yes.
So
Anything that Tiger made, like What We Do in the Shadows.
yeah.
That is an amazing horror thing, but it's also hilarious.
I've got a great Taika story if you want to hear it quickly.
Do it.
Yeah, so I was in LA a few years ago with a short film that I made called Split Me. A little very nostalgic film about kids in teens growing up in a rural town of Australia and spending a lot of time in their local bowling alley. But it got into a short film festival in America, Palm Springs Short Fest. So I got to go over to America for that. And then as part of that, got to do some workshops in LA, which was a really awesome experience. And I ended up meeting an Australian filmmaker. Her name's Bet Cole. She's a very successful Australian filmmaker. She works with, she does a lot of Indigenous work,
Awesome.
and she's anything basically, a lot of the high profile Indigenous shows you would have heard of, like Redfern Now, Black Comedy. She basically directs a lot of that.
Nice.
So she's
Clever Man, all that kind of stuff.
I think she had a hand in Clever Man.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely. She's very well connected. And anyway, we were staying in the same hotel and we got along really well as two Australians in LA, and we like to drink and have a little bit of a cheeky smoke. So
the two bogans drifted
basically,
together.
the two bogans drifted together very quickly, and we bonded quite well. And over 2 nights of drinking in the hotel bar, she just would casually mention, she would talk about her friends, and she casually just would mention her friend Taika. And I was like, and it kind of didn't click until the second night where after another reference to her friend Taika, I was like, hang on. Are you talking about Taika Waititi? And she's like, yeah, he's one of my best mates. And I was like, oh my God, it hasn't really come up on this show, but I'm a big fan of Taika. I think his style, his mix of comedy and drama is just amazing. He's probably the filmmaker I really look up to the most.
Boy is one of the greatest comedies, and Hunt of the Wilder People.
Yeah.
All of his stuff before he hit it big,
I know,
has just as much heart as after he did.
Yeah, I mean, for me, he hasn't topped Boy. Boy is still his best film for me.
Even though he didn't direct it, Green Lantern was pretty good.
Yeah, what a cameo. Yeah, people forget about that. He's great in it though.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I kind of fanboyed out to her for a little bit, and she's like, "Oh, I'm going to a barbecue at Taika's house tomorrow night. Do you want to come?" And after I picked up my jaw off the floor, I was like, "Yes."
You have to leave this studio if this story ends the way I think it does.
Oh, wow.
Because my insane jealousy is very... Right,
Yeah.
continue.
So yeah. Anyway, the next day, I'm like floating on air at this point. But yeah, the next day I hit her up. She messaged me in the afternoon. Hey, grabbing an Uber, heading over. Do you want to come? I'm like, yeah. Anyway, I spent I headed over to Taika Waititi's house in the Hollywood Hills, and we went in the house, and it was actually not his house. He was renting the house owned by another Australian director, Gregor Jordan,
Right.
director of Two Hands, and he was basically renting his house in the Hollywood Hills while he was working on Ragnarok. Anyway, we come in through the back and we're greeted by his wife, Chelsea. I meet his two little kids, and she's like, "Oh, Taika's still at work. He'll be home soon." You know, work just casually being Thor Ragnarok.
Wow.
So we just hang out in the backyard for a bit, and then me and Becca are having a smoke, and then out of nowhere, he just strolls in through the back door. He's had a big day at work. He's looking a bit huffed, but then he sees us, and, you know, him and Beck are lifelong friends, so they obviously embrace. And he looks at me, this weird Australian dude that he's never met. He's like, "Who's this?" He's like, "Oh, this is my friend Andrew." And he came in, gave me a big hug. Anyway, I ended up spending the whole night there, had a barbecue with them, had drinks, and yeah, like, it was pretty surreal.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
I'm so insanely jealous. Okay, the next question. Which film that didn't get one deserves a sequel?
Twins, which, you know, there's been a lot of talk about Twins and the possible
We're talking
sequels
about Eddie Murphy's triplets.
I know. And I mean, these are both answers that have been talked about a lot, but Beetlejuice.
Yep.
I think it's pretty much a crime that hasn't been.
The fan art brings it back every...
Yeah. And
Michael's still got it in him too.
he does. I think he's got it. He'll never lose it. I think, yeah. So yeah, those two films. I think Beetlejuice more so. Yeah.
All right. The next question is, who would play you in your biopic, Cliff Curtis?
Okay. I've been told that before. Yeah. No, Cliff Curtis. He can play anything as well.
Yeah, I know.
Like I've got that thing like that Cliff Curtis does. I'm very racially ambiguous. You can't.
For years, he would pop up in stuff. Like, I remember when he pops up in Blow.
Yeah.
And I'm just like,
He's Pablo Escobar.
I'm like, Uncle Bully's in this.
Yeah. And he's in the other role that pops up, Training Day.
Yes,
he's in Training Day.
He's in that giant shark movie that I've already forgotten the name of.
Yeah.
The Jason Statham versus the really giant shark movie.
Oh, yeah. The Meg.
The Meg.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's in that.
No, you know what? I didn't have Cliff Curtis down, but no, I don't think I'm going to top that. But my answer was, I was going for authenticity in my answer, Dave. I was going for racial diversity in my casting.
Okay.
And I'm going for authenticity. So like I said, I'm very racial ambiguous, but I'll give you the hint. I'm half Filipino, half Scottish. So somehow you get Mexican.
Scottapino.
Yeah, Scottapino. That's nice. So I've gone with Lou Diamond Phillips because Lou Diamond Phillips is actually half Filipino, half Scottish.
And this is always so revealing, even though it's not really revealing at all. Who is Lou Diamond Phillips to you? What is his role that you instantly go to in your brain? Because everyone says La Bamba.
It's Big Hit for me.
For me, there's two, and neither of them are La Bamba.
Yeah, okay.
It's Bats.
Bats, yeah, okay.
Or The Big Hit.
Yeah, it's a Big Hit for me, and I think he's really fun in that.
Yes.
Yeah.
He is having so much fun. Because he did all those movies with Keith Sutherland as well in the 90s.
Okay.
I can't even remember what they were called. I reckon Renegades.
Yeah, sure.
Young Guns.
Yeah, Young Guns.
That's a really great answer.
He started really strong, and he's had a pretty odd career.
When my daughter was 2 years old, my mind was blown watching the Wiggles perform Fruit Salad and Emma bringing out her friend Lou.
Wow.
And Lou Diamond Phillips just rocks up, and I was like, my brain can't put these two things together, and it was just so crazy. That's a great answer.
Like, I've seen him pop up in things recently. I can't think of an example, but he just seems like a really nice guy who's really self-aware and has a good sense of humor about himself, you know. Yeah.
No, great answer. All right, moving on to the next one. In your biopic, what is the main title song?
This was a tough one, but I'm going, it's a biopic and we're going to start the film in the 90s, in my childhood, I'm going to go with Beautiful Life by Ace of Base.
Nice.
Or Another Night by Real McCoy.
Fantastic. We are two similar people. I honestly think that Beautiful Life is the main title thing for Night at the Roxbury.
You're probably
I'm
right.
pretty
I
sure it
haven't seen
starts
that in a
before the film
long
starts.
time, but you're probably right. Yeah.
Fantastic. What a banger of a film. I will already buy a ticket because that was so good. Which movie freaked you out the most as a child?
With Return to Oz, The Wheelers.
Beware the Wheelers.
Yeah.
I think I've told the story before on our podcast that when we were in Dubbo on a holiday once when I was a kid, went to a local park near my auntie's house and someone had sprayed Beware the Wheelers on a cement pipe thing in the park and I had to go home. I was traumatized.
Yeah. Did you start hearing that
No,
rattle
not
sound?
at all, but
Oh my
I
God.
might as well have.
Yeah.
You've never seen a fat kid run across an oval so quickly.
What an oddity of a film, but yeah, Return to Oz. And also Terminator. The scene, I think I watched the original Terminator when I was way too young to have seen it. And the whole ending, once it's the skeleton,
Yep.
that whole ending terrified me,
Yep.
like for the longest time.
Good choice. Now, you could say DeLorean, but which vehicle, if you could, which TV show or movie from your childhood would you reboot?
See, I've got a genre. Can I go a genre?
Yeah.
I want to reboot the genre, and I want to reboot the genre of the ragtag group of kids taking on dumb adults.
Nice.
You know, like that's a genre that doesn't really exist anymore.
Yep.
And I mean, it's a product of, it's just those 90s films. You know,
Yep.
it's Home Alone, it's Heavyweights, it's The Mighty Ducks. It's that era of kids' films. Like, I don't feel like they feel like that anymore.
It Chapter 1 definitely drew from that.
Yeah, totally.
But then obviously moved away from it.
And I guess maybe Stranger Things has kind of become
Yeah.
like that. But in terms of a movie, I haven't really seen that. Otherwise, The Wizard, obviously.
Yep.
Yeah. And also for a show, Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Awesome.
Yeah.
I think they're doing that. If
I
not
bet they
already
are, because everybody loves anthology right now.
Because Super 8 was very similar to that answer
It was.
as well.
Yeah,
so-
yeah.
But that was just a love letter to
Yeah.
like Spielberg, much like Stranger Things. If you could drive any vehicle from a movie, what would it be?
The dog car from Dumb and Dumber.
Nice answer. That is fantastic. Left of center. Mutts Cuts.
Yeah,
The
Mutts Cuts.
van.
Yeah.
Nice. If you could add your favorite fictional character from any film to another film, what would it be and who would you choose?
This was a particularly tough one, but I've got a couple of options. I've gone with Johnny Lawrence from the Karate Kid.
Yep.
And I think it would be fun to just place him in any of the John Hughes films.
It'd be perfect.
But like, because he would just fit he's of that era.
He's written like a John Hughes.
He really is. But I mean, the one that I thought of, like, replace him or add him to The Breakfast Club, or replace Judd Nelson with Johnny Lawrence.
Yep.
My other answer was putting Daniel LaRusso also in any John Hughes movie.
Yeah, right.
Basically, yeah.
Would it be the cocky Karate Kid 2 or the almost humble Karate Kid 1?
I think it's the humble.
Yep.
I think it's the humble Daniel. We weren't on board with Daniel in 2.
No.
Like,
That's
not the Daniel we loved.
He broke the bonsais and stuff.
He did. Like,
well, no, that's 3.
That's 3.
Sorry, that's 3. Yeah. What a douche. All right, and which actor or actress do you find so attractive that if they were on a VHS tape, you would wear it out, much like my original copy of From Dusk Till Dawn?
I'm going with my a copy of something that I wore out, which was GoldenEye.
Nice.
And Xenia Onatop. Yeah,
yep.
Funka Jasnin. And here's another one. Fair Game with William Baldwin and Cindy Crawford.
I have that on VHS just because I like the cover, because I'm a big fan of, just because of the pervert kid I was, the 1990 sex thrillers.
Yeah.
Where it was like, I'm just getting this thriller, but it was like 10 scenes in it.
Oh, yeah.
Love
well, I know Fair Game quite well, and I believe there's only really one scene in it.
Yeah.
But it's a doozy. Yeah. On the train. Yeah.
Even the cover looks like that's what you
it looks very sexy, but it's all deceiving. It's very deceiving.
And is it William or Billy Baldwin?
It's William or Billy?
Williams. Billy Billy is Harley Davidson and the Marlboro Man and John Carpenter's Vampires. Some of those are words. Yeah, I mixed both of those up.
I get them confused.
Pretty much the same.
I think it's
Billy.
Billy.
Not Stephen or Alec.
It's definitely not Stephen. I think it might be Billy. Billy was kind of cute in the 90s.
I reckon it was Billy because he became born again and now speaks out against all of his movies that were like either violent or sexual. Or
See, that makes sense because he's kind of a Baldwin you haven't heard of in 20 years.
Yep.
Yeah.
Jeebus got him. All right, we are going into your next choice straight away because we're running out of time with this Love Fest 1994. We'd seen what the Ducks could do, but now they were back.
Yeah.
And they were becoming Team USA. You have picked D2, the Mighty Ducks.
Yeah. Quack, quack, quack.
Quack, quack, quack. Gordon Bombay back. Could not believe it was Charlie Sheen's brother because I just didn't realise that in the 1990s.
Yeah, I didn't know that for a long... You know what caught me onto it? Men at Work. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
But no, D2, the Mighty Ducks. So this pretty much was a huge influence on me because it just came at the right time where I just gotten my first pair of rollerblades and roller hockey was starting to become a pretty popular thing.
Yep.
So...
Had your Roches.
Yeah. No, I had my Bowers.
Ooh,
I had my Bowers.
Lovely. Yep.
Little fancy. But yeah, this is one of those movies I watched just repeatedly. And it's really a toss-up between this one and the first one. The first one's probably a better film, but this one, there's just something more exciting about this one.
Yeah, definitely. It is much like a lot of Disney properties.
Yeah.
It is a lot of what you loved of the first,
Yeah.
but then turned up just a little bit louder.
Yeah.
I used to love, I had this on VHS off of TV, and I absolutely loved when they're sitting around the campfire singing We Are the Champions.
Yeah, it's a great ending.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, the first one is actually, like, a pretty good script.
Yes.
Things pay off. It's got emotional stakes, and there's, like, an emotional payoff at the end.
It feels like a movie that someone wrote as a drama, and then they Disneyed it up. Like, all right,
Totally.
instead of making it a ragtag, like, like a Wildcats or a movie like that, we'll make him kids.
Yeah.
And that, like, totally steered it. But it still has the heart remaining there from, like, Gordon Bombay's story as a kid.
Yeah.
The dude from the Lois and Clark, the New Adventures of Superman.
Yeah.
Great show.
But yeah, D2 the Mighty Ducks, just a really fun movie and inspired me to really take up rollerblading pretty seriously. And many years of playing inline hockey over at the parks in Mansfield Park. Yeah.
Nice.
So
The rough streets.
the rough streets.
You was playing street ball.
Yeah. No, well, it was an organized league.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was like this Canadian guy who had
Of course.
Yeah, who'd moved to Australia for whatever reason, started this local league. And it was like 6 teams.
Yeah, right.
You would kind of just register, and then he kind of would just put you in a team. And it was Saturday morning games.
That sounds amazing. Bring it back.
Yeah, no, it was really great. It was really fun. It was really big for a time there, and like we would have competitions with other clubs around like Australia and stuff. Like,
wow.
Yeah, it was pretty big for that little period of time, and then it all just came crashing down. And I remember the day I realized that it wasn't cool anymore. It was this one day after school. I was rollerblading. It was probably like 97, 98. And I was
You mean 98 days ago, yeah?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I was rollerblading, and I heard. You remember the rivalry between skaters, skateboarders, and rollerbladers? Yeah. I was rolling down the streets where I grew up around Semaphore and stuff, around here actually, and I heard that familiar sound of skateboards. I was like, oh boy, and from a distance they saw me. And I just remember hearing, "It's a fucking blader," and I just bolted.
Yeah.
And that was the day I realized, okay, this is not cool anymore.
It turns on a dime, those kind of things.
Yeah, it really does.
Brutal. All right, the next film you have chosen Rocky for Kids.
Rocky for Kids.
The Karate Kid.
Yeah.
What more is there to say?
There's not really much more to say. Have you watched Cobra Kai?
I certainly have.
Yeah, I love it.
I'm one of those guys that used my free month of YouTube Red to watch it.
Oh, wow.
Told everyone how amazing it was.
Yeah.
And no one could be bothered. Now it's on Netflix and I'm the one that's out of the loop.
And it's just blown up,
yeah.
Hasn't it? It's amazing. No, it's what I love about the series is how, even though it's set now, they've just managed, I don't know how, they've managed just to capture the vibe and the aesthetic.
Yeah.
Like, even though it's set now, it feels like the 80s.
Oh, and one thing that I love is a bit of a workaround. Like, you get Johnny, and he's almost playing into the audience that's like, because obviously we live in a time where 2020, very woke, very, this is problematic.
Yeah.
It is good to have that conduit of Johnny being out of touch.
So out of touch.
So that you still get that for the fans of that.
Yeah.
You know, it's not condemning fans of the original.
No.
Whereas a lot of times when they bring something back or they make a sequel years after, they point out all the flaws of the original, and it drives away the original fan base. Whereas I feel this manages to go, all right, Johnny's a product of the time. He never moved on.
Yeah.
So any fans that are like that are going to love that.
And it makes complete sense. That would be his character arc.
And it's funny because I remember about 5 or 6 years ago making the rounds was the viral video. I think it was a Cracked video from cracked.com, and it was about how Daniel used an illegal kick.
Yeah.
And how he's the real bad guy of the franchise. And that's pretty much what they've gone with.
Yeah. The flip of the roles is fantastic.
I had to laugh, however. Only this week I was watching on YouTube Variety do they get the actor to talk about the most iconic roles.
Yeah.
And they had Ralph Macchio.
Amazing.
And I was like, just get back to... Like, because he'd do like this, and then I did this. Then I did Karate Kid 2. And it's like interesting again.
Yeah.
Then it's boring again. Then it's like, then I did Karate Kid 3. It's like, oh, no one cares.
Yeah.
Except he was in The Outsiders, which I love that movie.
That is a great movie. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. And you're a huge Hilary Swank fan because then you're saying the next Karate Kid's your favourite film.
I do feel it's a little underrated, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still Miyagi. And
I was going to say,
I love
he is
Miyagi.
yeah.
Like, so I'll take all the Miyagi I can get.
I was so obsessed with the likes of the Karate Kid and stuff that I even liked, and still now, if I love a movie, I love all the movies, the lesser movies that rip it off, and, you know, I like the B grade.
Yeah.
So I loved Sidekicks with Chuck Norris and Jonathan Brandis.
Yeah.
Because it was just Karate Kid done again.
It really was.
Now, the next two films that I want to touch on, you put JVCD on your Mount Rushmore of actors.
I did.
So it's only fair we go to the top of the peak, and we are talking about Bloodsport.
Yeah, he's absolute. Is that his peak for you? Because, I mean, there's a toss-up. It's Kickboxer or Bloodsport. There can only be one.
Well, I don't want to turn you away from me. I want to be besties, but for me, peak Van Damme is Universal Soldier.
Interesting, Dave.
Because that is a lesser Terminator. So I'm on board for that. You got Dolph Lundgren as an amazing bad guy. However, Goldberg was in the sequel as well.
Yeah.
I am a huge fan also of Time Cop.
Time Cop, I need to revisit, to be honest. But yeah, no, Kickboxer. I think for me, it's Kickboxer. Bloodsport, I love a lot of just as
Which
much.
one's Bolo Yang?
Kickboxer.
Sorry, Kickboxer for me.
Yeah, Kickboxer. There's a scene in Kickboxer where Van Damme's character gets drunk in a local bar in Thailand, and he fights these guys while dancing.
Yes.
And it's just
in his slacks.
In his sort of tank top. It's just classic cinema, and it's so funny.
Yeah,
it's really funny.
And because obviously the makers of Mortal Kombat have really highly said that Bloodsport and Kickboxer were two big catalysts of the film. That and obviously Big Trouble in Little China. That had all different things mixed together. But it was originally going to be a Van Damme Kickboxer game.
Indeed.
Actually, I have to correct myself. Double Impact is a classic because you get double Van Damme.
You do get double the Van Damme. Yeah.
Yeah. So, starting with Kickboxer from 1989. It's pretty much Van Damme's brother gets killed.
Yep.
By
redemption tale.
He joins the Muay Thai competition to avenge his brother.
Yeah, who is not killed, but is crippled.
Doesn't have a Belgian accent either.
No,
Weirdly
definitely
enough.
not. Definitely not. So different mums, different dads, maybe. But yeah, it's just a classic. You know, it's Rocky with kickboxing. It's the Karate Kid with kickboxing. It's just that classic tale.
Because I always mix up, because he's the bad guy in No Retreat, No Surrender.
Yeah, that was kind of his first introduction.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the bad guy in that, Ivan the Russian.
He was originally supposed to be Predator. He was for
he
like
was.
a month.
Yeah. Totally. But no, No Retreat, No Surrender. That's does not hold up.
I doubt it would. Neither does Wrong Bet, aka Lionheart, which I hired both of them one weekend.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is the same movie.
Wrong Bet is on one of the streaming services, and I flick past it every now and then, and I'm like, one of these days, I'm going to revisit you.
I revisited The Quest.
The Quest, yes.
Which isn't as bad as I remember. However,
it's like Bloodsport Light.
Yes,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Double Team has that really cool sequel where he's on the island and he has to escape. And so it has a really cool montage of him getting fit to escape from the island, which includes him doing weights with the full the bathtub filled with water.
Yeah.
And he's timing how long he can hold his breath underwater with a cigarette. And it's a whole cool sequence in just a shitty movie. And it's also pre the wrestler Mickey Rourke, where he just had all his work done.
Yeah.
And so he's the most unconvincing bad guy in that film as well.
His training, like Van Damme's training scenes, always the best. There's some great scenes in Kickboxer where he's doing stuff underwater, and then Bloodsport. I think Bloodsport and Kickboxer both have a scene where he's tied up and they split his legs.
Yes,
they both have that scene.
He loves showing that off.
Oh, he loves it.
I will never forget, because I grew up much like you, the massivest fan of Van Damme, literally and figuratively, and.
Oh, wait, you said Bolo Young, didn't you?
Yeah.
Bolo Young is Bloodsport. I said Kickboxer, didn't I?
Yes.
Yeah, Bloodsport.
Bloodsport's my vote again.
Yeah.
I'll jump back and forth. I'll never forget one of my friends ringing me and saying, "Hey, guess who I met today from Broken Hill, where I'm from?" I'm like, "Who?" He's like, "Oh, I got my photo with Van Damme."
Amazing.
I was like, "Oh, yeah, sure you did. Of all places on earth, Van Damme's going to go to Broken Hill."
Yeah.
He goes, "No, really?" I'm like, "No, you didn't, but good one." Anyway, next day, front of the newspaper, Jean-Claude Van Damme went to Broken Hill to ask local businesses about the sustainability of having white rhinos grown and housed in, because it's arid.
Yeah.
And he's an ambassador for some white rhino.
How random.
I know. But he must just wear those pants all the time, because the photo in the paper is him doing the high kick on the runway at the airport.
Yeah.
But if you ever told me that Van Damme would be in Broken Hill, I wouldn't believe you. Broken Hill's one of those places that's had an unusual amount of celebrities there. Obviously with Silverton being where Mad Max was filmed.
Yeah.
However, Mission Impossible 2 was filmed there. So Tom Cruise was just staying in some local film guy's house.
Crazy.
And the only celebrity I've ever met was Jim Belushi while filming Race the Sun.
Oh, yeah.
Didn't get
Halle
to meet
Berry in
Halle
that
Berry.
movie? Yeah.
And the annoying Affleck. Casey.
Yeah. He's pretty much cancelled, I think.
Yes, I did see that.
Yeah.
Him and Danny Masterson were really close together.
Oh, yeah. We don't talk about them anymore.
No, we don't. They're cancelled. Anyway, we might play a final song and then we'll get back into stuff. This is 100.5 WOW FM. It is 100.5 WOW FM. We're going to stick around for a little bit extra long this evening. Unfortunately, no Krez tonight, but don't forget you can catch him tomorrow night from 10 p.m. here on WOW FM. Now, taking a look, Andrew Shanks is joining us, taking us through his favourite films of all time. He's made quite the nostalgic list. However, you have given me a list of films that have really inspired you as a filmmaker. So I thought we could do a quick run through of each of these films and a bit of what they mean to you.
Yeah.
So the first one on the list is Spike Lee's Do the Right Thing.
Yeah, cool. Spike Lee's Do the Right Thing. It was a film I sort of watched for the first time when I was just starting to study film. And it really blew my mind in terms of something that can be, of what you can really do as a filmmaker in terms of having a really clear and direct message, but being able to sort of deliver that in a really kind of powerful but also entertaining way.
Yeah.
Do the Right Thing delves into some pretty heavy topics, but it's a really fun ride.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
The characters are so entertaining. And yeah, it gets very dark at times, and it's
a great example of a day in the life film too.
Yeah, which I love.
Yeah.
Empire Records, a day in the life film. And it just 30 years later, it's still as relevant as ever. If we just look at what's happened in the world recently, Yeah, and you compare that to the ending of Do the Right Thing. It's pretty scary how we're still dealing with these exact same issues, and if not, they're getting worse.
Nothing has changed.
Yeah, so yeah, it was just a film that when I really realized how you can really say something with a film.
The next thing on your list was the most picked film ever in the history of DVG's
I
guest choice
bet.
specials.
I bet.
I think in the about 90-something guests we've had, it's come up maybe 70 to 80 times.
I bet.
Goodfellas.
Yeah, Goodfellas. Scorsese, love Scorsese. Love his style. Just such a classic filmmaker in everything he does. And Goodfellas. I mean, for me, to be honest, I love Casino almost as much.
Casino I love more.
Yeah, it's really a toss-up for me. But I think I just go with Goodfellas because it's the one I discovered first. And I just love the way Scorsese tells a story. His use of music, the use of narration, the way his camera work, everything. Like, just...
It's perfection.
It's really perfection, yeah.
And the director that film nerds love to hate, it's his first film. It was changed the scene of what a indie film was. We're talking about Clerks.
Clerks, yeah. Look, another example of a filmmaker who's really become a parody of himself, if we're honest. I recently watched Jay and Silent Bob Reboot. Hey, look, it is what it is. I didn't hate it.
I was upset how much fan service, but then realised that, hang on, I'm a fan as well, so it's for me.
And you're watching it.
Yeah.
And yeah. But Clerks, man, like Clerks was just another film, just in terms of, coming up as someone who wanting to be a filmmaker. You could look at Clerks and be like, this is achievable.
Yep.
It was one of the first films that I looked at and thought, I could make this with my friends. Yeah. And that was the big thing. And I sort of discovered Clerks randomly just through early days of the internet.
Yep.
There was a lot of clips from Clerks that would float around the internet, well before YouTube, little 15-second clips of Randall talking.
Yep.
And the Berserker guy. So I saw all these clips well before I watched the movie. So I was well aware of it, but I wasn't sure what it was.
I still think one of the funniest jokes before animation was meta, there was the Clerks cartoon.
Oh, dude.
And the second episode, they get locked in a freezer and they do a clip episode, but they've only got one episode to work with.
Yes.
So all the flashbacks are of the first episode where they just keep putting the monkey in to make it different.
Yeah.
What a cartoon.
I loved that, man. Judge Reinhold shows up in that. Yeah.
And he dreams of putting tailpipe bananas in with Eddie Murphy. Napoleon Dynamite.
Yeah, Napoleon Dynamite. I love Napoleon Dynamite. I still love it to this day. I just think it's such an oddball of a film. I just feel like when it came out, it was just so fresh. It's kind of... A lot of people don't like it now or don't look back fondly on it, but I still think it was just a really special film for the time and really captured something of the time and just its mix of...
One of the best films, The Little Girl from Waterworld.
Yeah. One of her few classics.
I think it's one of three that she was even in.
Yeah. And I love that. The one thing I love about Napoleon Dynamite and continue to reference to this day is the soundtrack. I love the music because it's just this weird, quirky, offbeat kind of Casio keyboard sounding.
Yes.
That is just perfect for, I've used it as temp tracks. Whenever when I've done short films, and when you're cutting it, you just need some temp music. I just always go straight to the Napoleon Dynamite soundtrack.
Yeah.
And there's just so many tracks in that soundtrack, the more instrumental stuff. Obviously you got Jamiroquai, but I'm talking more about the instrumental tracks. They just fit so well everywhere.
It's and that almost informed indie film for a long time because
totally, dude.
I think of that film Ryan Reynolds' Adventureland, I think it's called.
Yes. Yeah,
that has a very similar soundtrack. Even Hot Rod has that kind of... Yeah. They do have some licensed music in a lot of Europe, but it's that just Casio keyboard driven, nothing, something out of nothing that you got from so many of those things.
Yeah, and the other ongoing legacy of Napoleon Dynamite is I always use the Kip fist pump gif. I always use that. I
am forever saying build a cake instead of make a cake because Pedro says build her a cake or something.
Yeah.
Knocked Up. That's a bit of a... it's a bit of a different choice from Apatow.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It's not the one you would pick?
I would instantly go to, well, heavyweights, but beyond that,
yeah.
I think, and not many people love it as much as I do. I'm pretty sure it's Apatow. I love
40-year-old.
funny people.
I love funny people. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Apatow, and like again, is another filmmaker that gets criticized a lot. Very indulgent. But I think there's very few filmmakers who manage to. Like, what I love about Apatow's work is it's not too far removed from films like the gross out teen films of the 90s, like American Pie, and
it's a continuation.
It's a continuation of that, but he injects so much heart and warmth into them. And I just think, he's just kind of the king, the master of kind of the dramedy format, which I love.
I think he cops a lot of what Happy Madison films. Like, Happy Madison are probably more guilty of what Apatow's films get accused of.
Sure.
So, as the character writing is second to none in a lot of it.
Yeah.
A lot of times it's funny, but the weakest part is Leslie Mann, who's like Judd's wife.
Yeah. Yeah. She has her moments.
Yeah.
But she's not as good as the roles she gets, let's just say.
I still think one of the funniest jokes before animation was meta, there was the Clerks cartoon.
Oh, dude.
And the second episode, they get locked in a freezer and they do a clip episode, but they've only got one episode to work with.
Yes.
So all the flashbacks are of the first episode where they just keep putting the monkey in to make it different.
Yeah.
What a cartoon.
I loved that, man. Judge Reinhold shows up in that. Yeah.
And he dreams of putting tailpipe bananas in with Eddie Murphy. Napoleon Dynamite.
Yeah, Napoleon Dynamite. I love Napoleon Dynamite. I still love it to this day. I just think it's such an oddball of a film. I just feel like when it came out, it was just so fresh. It's kind of... A lot of people don't like it now or don't look back fondly on it, but I still think it was just a really special film for the time and really captured something of the time, and just its mix of...
One of the best films of the little girl from Waterworld.
Yeah. One of her few classics.
I think it's like one of three that she was even in.
Yeah. And I love that. One thing I love about Napoleon Dynamite and continue to reference to this day is the soundtrack. I love the music because it's just this weird, quirky, offbeat kind of Casio keyboard sounding.
Yes.
That is just perfect for, like, I've used it as temp tracks. Whenever I'm like, when I've done short films, and when you're cutting it, you just need some temp music. I just always go straight to the Napoleon Dynamite soundtrack. Yeah. And there's just so many tracks in that soundtrack, like the more instrumental stuff. Like, obviously you got Jamiroquai, but I'm talking more about the instrumental tracks. Pie fits so well everywhere.
It's and that almost informed indie film for a long time because, like,
totally, dude.
I think of like that film Ryan Reynolds' Adventureland, I think it's called.
Yes. Yeah,
that has a very similar soundtrack. Even Hot Rod has that kind of... They do have some licensed music in a lot of Europe, but it's that just Casio keyboard driven, nothing, like something out of nothing that you got from so many of those things.
Yeah, and the other ongoing legacy of Napoleon Dynamite is I always use the Kip
nice.
fist pump gif. I always use that. I
am forever saying build a cake instead of make a cake because Pedro says build her a cake or something.
Yeah.
Knocked Up. That's a bit of a... it's a bit of a different choice from Apatow.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It's not the one you would pick?
I would instantly go to, well, heavyweights, but beyond that, I think, and not many people love it as much as I do. I'm pretty sure it's Apatow. I love funny people.
I love funny people. Yeah. I'm a big fan of Apatow, and like again, is another filmmaker that gets criticized a lot. Very indulgent. But I think there's very few filmmakers who manage to... Like, what I love about Apatow's work is it's not too far removed from films like the gross out teen films of the 90s, like American Pie, and...
It's a continuation.
It's a continuation of that, but he injects so much heart and warmth into them. And I just think, he's just kind of the king, the master of kind of the dramedy format, which I love.
I think he cops a lot of what Happy Madison films. Like, Happy Madison are probably more guilty of what Apatow's films get accused of.
Sure.
So, the character writing is second to none in a lot of it.
Yeah.
A lot of the times it's funny, but the weakest part is Leslie Mann, who's
Yeah.
like Judd's wife.
Yeah. She has her moments.
Yeah.
But she's not as good as the roles she gets, let's just say.
This is 40 was really enjoyable.
Yeah.
I like that. 40-year-old version was great.
I like all of his movies, but
Yep.
for me, Knocked Up, I don't know why it stands out. I think it maybe just came at a time in my life where, I don't know. It just really stood out for me. I think I love the group dynamic of the friends.
Yep.
And then being...
Well, that's why I love This Is the End so much.
Yeah.
Because it was a continuation, heightened, but of that, like,
Yeah.
group of friends. Like, you really got the vibe, and obviously you find out that, like, Rogan and Jay Bereshew, or however you say his name, are best friends from Canada from back in the day.
Yeah.
Knocked Up is really good. It's a lot more quotable than people realize as well. Like, there's a lot of great lines in it.
It is.
And even anyone that doesn't love Melissa McCarthy will crack up at her in This Is 40.
Yeah.
Where she accuses
She's
him
the
of
angry
he touched my
mum.
boob.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, what
Amazing.
a movie. What else has he done? He's done... Because I remember the...
Trainwreck and is the most recent. Have you seen King
He
of Staten
did-
Island yet?
Not yet, no.
Yeah.
I'm a bit... I'm still trying to see what everyone else sees in Pete Davidson.
I don't like Pete Davidson.
Me neither.
Don't love him. I don't find him that funny.
Because I am a massive SNL historian.
Sure.
And, like, Cillian Murphy... Oh, not Cillian Murphy, sorry. Basically, a lot of the modern SNL dudes, I do not see what everyone else finds hilarious about them.
Yeah.
Michael Che is hilarious.
Yeah.
There's a few that really shine out.
Who's the guy on there now? Rooney?
Yeah, I know.
The guy.
Yeah.
Have you seen Brigsby Bear?
Yes.
The guy. He's
Yeah,
in Brigsby
yeah.
Bear. Kurt Mooney.
Kurt Mooney, yes.
Kurt Mooney's pretty great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Pete Davidson, I just never saw the appeal.
I don't get the hype so far. Look, he's not like he's pretty likable in
Yeah.
King of Staten Island. Don't get me wrong. I watched his comedy special. And
I did watch it as well.
I didn't really like it, and I'm a bit of a stand-up head. I watch a lot of stand-up, and like, I don't know, it had its moments, but
To me, it was just a 20-something-year-old just trying to show off
Kind
that he's
of.
a 17-year-old for adults to laugh at.
yeah.
And I think he keeps going back to the same stories, and just
Yeah.
like anytime he's backed into a corner, he's like, I get high all the time.
Yeah,
It's like,
that's just his
cool.
shtick. That's pretty much his shtick.
Yeah.
But I'm a big Bill Burr fan. So I loved seeing Bill Burr in King of Staten Island in like whenever he pops up in something, like when he popped up in The Mandalorian, I couldn't believe it.
That
Like,
episode was my favorite. It was like a
yeah,
horror movie. It was great.
Yeah. So he's great in it. So that, yeah.
He was even great in Daddy's Home too.
Not
He's
familiar
so-
with his work in that one.
It's a small part, but it's still good. See, I was because of cancelling,
Yeah.
a massive Louis C.K. fan. Like,
Me too, man.
His stand-up
Yeah.
was so close. Like he
Horace,
had,
did you watch Horace and Pete?
yes,
Yeah.
he had this line where he said, "I have so many convictions and beliefs that I don't live my life by."
Yeah.
I'm like, that's me. That's like,
Yeah.
but you can't compare yourself to him anymore.
No,
It's-
definitely not.
yeah. I don't ring anybody, so
Yeah.
it's fine. Awesome. Now your final two films.
Yeah.
Sorry, I've totally scrolled off. The other films you picked were Boy, which we
Yeah,
touched on.
we've touched
The Amours and
on.
Work of Tiger. The Florida Project, is that the Willem Dafoe movie?
Yeah. Yeah. It's Willem Dafoe, director Sean Baker, who's like a real kind of indie director. He made that film you may have heard of called Tangerine, which is like
No.
it's this film that was all. It's sort of its gimmick at the time was that it was all shot on iPhones, but it's so
I have
it's
heard
so
of-
much
yeah.
more than that. It's just such a beautiful film, and it kind of got overshadowed by the fact that I think people dismissed it as like, oh, it's just a gimmick shot on iPhones, but it's a really beautiful film. And the Florida Project is just, again, it's one that I think a lot of people missed, but it's just, it's the story of a little girl, Mooney, and her perspective of the world and the things that are happening around her in this like part of Florida where right in the shadow of Disney World, and basically there's all this string of like low rent, pretty crummy like old motels where a lot of sort of people on below the poverty line kind of live permanently, and they kind of live there in the shadow of this amazing place, and it's just seeing the world through the little Mooney's eyes is just a beautiful time.
Awesome.
Yeah.
But Willem Dafoe's face is still terrifying.
Ah, he's got a face like no other.
Now, another movie, we spoke earlier about like being disappointed by follow-up work. You've picked Drive.
Yeah. Yeah.
Only God Forgives is possibly the worst movie I've seen in the last 10 years.
Whoa, that's a big call.
I
wouldn't go that far.
Maybe not the worst. It just... Because it wasn't Super Troopers 2. It was just so...
It was too much.
Self-indulgent, for lack of a better word.
It was a director really believing in their own hype.
Do you like neon lights? I like neon lights. Do you like neon lights? Because I do.
Yeah.
That's what the whole movie was.
It was, yeah. Look, stylistically, I love some of what's going on there. Like, just visually. It, as a work of art.
It's not the follow-up that Drive promised. And I know
you
can't... It's so hard because you're not supposed to weigh something down because of your preconception.
Yeah.
However, I feel like Drive was this amazing film that was promising this amazing career of the director.
Yeah.
And then that come along and I was like...
Yeah. And then the Neon Demon was even worse for me, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the final film, is it the Aussie one with Robert Pattinson? The Good Time?
Good Time. It's not Aussie. You're thinking the one...
The Rover. The Rover, yeah.
Yeah, the Good Time it's on Netflix, if anyone hasn't checked it out. Just one of these... It's a great film. It's this gritty, gross, kind of grimy film about two low-rent criminals, two brothers, Robert Pattinson, and directed by the Safdie brothers,
right,
who are New York directors. This was kind of their big breakout film, but they've been kind of on the indie circuit for a while now. And this film... Oh, did you see Uncut Gems?
Yes.
They did Uncut Gems. So
man, that movie made me feel terrible, but loved it.
Yeah. So if you loved Uncut Gems, I think you'll like Good Time a lot. I prefer it over Uncut Gems, but it's got that same level of just unrelenting tension and anxiety, and it's just one of those films that keeps you on the edge of your seat. It's Robert Pattinson, and it's told over one night. It's just Robert Pattinson with a night to make the money to get his brother out of jail, like to make the bail bond, and all of it, and everything just goes wrong.
Jennifer Jason Leigh's in there.
Yeah.
I did not know she was Vic Morrow's daughter.
I didn't know that either.
You know Vic Morrow from the Twilight Zone film?
Sure.
That got killed?
Yeah,
that is Jennifer Jason Leigh's dad.
Wow.
Blew my mind. Because one of my favourite movies ever was The Hateful Eight.
Yeah.
And then I love the story of the Twilight Zone film because I like messed up stuff like that. Do you have Shudder?
I don't.
I haven't got around to it.
I need to get it.
Good friend of the show, Jamie, has let us know that Cursed Films on there is incredible because it's like the story.
It's a doco series. Yeah.
It surrounds the story of the Twilight Zone film, Poltergeist,
amazing,
Exorcist, like all the bad things that happen in the production of the films, which some people would see as poor taste, but I'm a huge fan.
Yeah.
Now the final two films of your list of 10.
I can't even remember what they are.
They're both science fiction. One is by perhaps the greatest satire filmmaker of all time, Paul Verhoeven's Starship Troopers.
Nobody does satire quite like Mr. Verhoeven.
Do you know what's... We recently did RoboCop on the podcast.
Sure.
And the thing that I was taking away from it is he edges his bets because he does satire where it's so effective, straightforward as a derpy action or derpy science fiction.
Yeah.
That you either go in and you're like, oh, I really love the satire of that. Or
it goes completely over your head.
Or it completely goes over your head.
Yeah.
But either way, you're entertained.
Yeah.
And that is pretty difficult to do. And it's almost just this level of meta that, if you're not looking for it, you're not finding it. Much like...
which I wasn't looking for when I watched it as a kid. And I just saw it as a big
bugs getting killed by...
Yeah, and I loved it. But I watched it recently and... Oh, man, it's so ahead of its time.
100%.
Yeah.
And much like... I lump in Last Action Hero with that kind of thing, where it's paying out the audience that loves these films and being one of these films at the same time.
Yeah,
and that's much like what Paul Verhoeven does with all of his films.
Pretty much. Yeah, it's kind of been his shtick. And, Showgirls.
I enjoy that movie because I was a huge Saved by the Bell fan.
Yeah.
Um,
The characters in Starship Troopers kind of feel like they could have been characters off of Saved by the Bell because they're that kind of perfect American sitcom kind of characters.
Yes. And that even plays into the Nazi, like I was looking into it.
Yeah.
The Nazi propaganda part of that is that you have to establish that it's beautiful people versus these ugly monsters.
Yeah.
And that plays into the whole thing as well. I'm like, he's much more clever. However, at the time, I had frosted tip, spiky hair. I was a lot thinner than I am now. And I had massive teeth. And anytime Jake Busey showed up in something was a bad time for me because all my friends are like, there's you.
It wasn't like that's me represented. You didn't look at it that way?
No, it wasn't because he's
That's
not
my people.
He's not a strawberry blonde. He's not a strawberry blonde Australian, which you represent in your film. So I've got to give you credit for that.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I thought about your people.
You do.
I'm a
let us
friend.
in.
I'm an ally.
You are an ally of the strawberry blonde Australian. Now, the final choice you have picked. Just got to run through my brain. Perhaps
It's pretty.
the second last great film made by George Lucas.
Second to last. Okay, I'm interested to see what the last is then.
Labyrinth.
Okay.
Because that was 86. This was 83. You have picked Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
Third one.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why, but this one just spoke to me
Because Luke wears black, and that's dope.
Yeah.
Green lightsaber's cooler.
That's cool. Jabba's hut was cool.
Leia in the slave outfit we won't talk about, but it was cool for at the time for reasons that we just can't
I'm on
quite-
board with I'm on board with the Ewoks as well.
Yep.
I mean, say what you will
Everything
about
is great.
them. Yeah.
Anyone that talks crap about Ewoks needs to watch the scene of the chicken walker taking two down and one getting up, realizing the other hasn't got up
It's
and trying to
fucking
shake it.
heartbreaking.
If that doesn't hit you in the
Oh
heart,
my God. And
stop watching.
He makes this little noise
Yeah.
and then lowers his head.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God. No.
And one of my favorite bits is also when Han is hot wiring the shutter doors.
Oh yeah.
And he shuts bigger doors on the outside. That's just a great bit of character work.
Look, Star Wars was a big part of my childhood. All three of them, really. So much so that I remember watching when watching Empire for the first time. I know I've said Return of the Jedi, but I remember watching Empire the first time with my dad, and my mum was away that weekend, and the revelation that Darth Vader was Luke's father was so mind-blowing to me that I was like, I have to ring my mum. I have to ring mum and tell her about this. And I remember that phone call. I'm just like, Mum, you will never believe it.
Isn't it funny when something like that grabs you?
Yeah.
That just made me think of something completely unrelated, but I remember watching Raw is War back in the day. WWF was amazing.
Yeah.
And it was the one where the New Age Outlaws pushed Cactus Jack and Terry Funk off the stage in the bin.
Yes.
And the whole show came to a stop and the ambulance came out. I rang my mum because I was at my auntie's.
Yeah.
Because I was so wound up. I was like, Mum, this happened and this happened. Back to Return of the Jedi though. That is a great way of rounding out the trilogy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe it was because of the age I was watching them. But yeah, at the time, I guess Empire, other than that revelation, I guess it was just too dark for me. I mean, obviously as an adult, rewatching them.
The biggest downer in cinema history.
But the whole film, though. Everything about it is just, it doesn't have the warmth that... No. And that's why people love it, right? That's why it's probably held as the...
no one did at the time, though.
No,
that's the thing. It's in hindsight, it's the best.
Yeah.
I think, like, everyone loves the down ending now. Like, my favorite film of all time, or one of, is The Mist.
Yeah.
And that's got a great happy ending.
Yeah. I love that ending.
That's the best ending of a film ever.
I'm a big fan. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, that's pretty much your list of 10.
Yeah.
So tell us once more, where can people check out your stuff? Because obviously you got very exciting things on the horizon.
Yeah.
Tell us all about it.
You can check out all our previous video game related shorts and skits and parodies at Fury Fingers on YouTube. So just punch Fury Fingers into YouTube and you'll find our channel. And there's a whole backlog of fun videos there. So if you're into action, if you're into comedy, if you're into video games and references to pop culture, you'll dig our stuff.
Nothing that you'd get from here. So.
Oh, not at all.
None
Not
of
at
our
all.
audience.
Of course not.
If you
And
like art house,
European subtitles.
a lot of Scandinavian
yeah.
surrealist films.
1920s Eastern European.
There you go.
Yeah. No, and also, like I mentioned earlier, we've got a new web series, 6 episodes dropping next Friday, 18th of September, at 6 p.m. But yeah, jump onto our socials. Just look us up. Look up Fury Fingers Films or just Fury Fingers on all the usual channels.
Make sure your safe search is on if you do Google it, though.
Yeah, and make sure you double check. You don't accidentally put in 2 R's.
Yeah.
You get a completely different result.
Yes.
Like, it's funny, like, what one letter difference can make.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
A lot of mascots doing quite questionable things.
That's right.
Awesome. Andrew, thank you so much for joining us.
It's been a pleasure, Dave. Thanks for having me.
Anytime. This is DVG.